Welcome back to another reading and correcting of Stepping Up with me, Kindar, the Tiger Hunts, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. Today, we are doing chapter 99 of Stepping. Tibs added notes to the paper regarding the sequence of triggers that had led to the boar's crest. The next team would have to verify his work. As with the lion crest, this one was a puzzle. It was also a sliding square puzzle, but yeah. As with the lion crest, this one was a puzzle, also a sliding square puzzle. But unlike the other, instead of moving one square at a time using the empty space, he needed to slide a line in its entirety. The square at the edge vanished into it as he slid it and reappeared on the other side. How does it do that? Tickle asked. Essence, Fundar replied in his usual casual tone. Tibs felt the essence as he pushed a column down. He couldn't tell all of them, but it had the same overall sense of the doorway as the square moved through it. And he didn't know how Stoke could use essence in this way. She'd ask her teacher, but if he knew, he wasn't telling her. Once he set aside the question of how it happened, moving the square to reform the crest was straightforward. Just like with the lion, the closer to finishing he was, the tougher it became, but this time he wasn't stuck at accomplishing it without undoing the previous work. But this time he wasn't stuck at accomplishing it without undoing the previous work. All he needed to do was find the sequence of move. Which gave the appearance of chaos, while actually ending with the tiles he wanted in their proper place. The last column slid into place, completing the boar's crest. Something clicked, and the door slid down with a groan of stone against stone. The room consisted of a grid made of 1 and 8 square tiles in each direction, large enough for one person to stand on it. It made them roughly half the size of the one in the lion room. Instead of lying flat on the ground, they were at various heights, with a few level with the floor that with. Instead of lying flat on the ground, they were at various heights. Only a few were level with the ground. Some pressed against the ceiling, and most somewhere in between, but with the gap in height large enough that few could be like, large enough they would be difficult. Gerald's note on the room told him the sides were too sheer and hard to be climbed, even with tools, and that the column's height changed each time someone stepped onto one. But his team hadn't been able to work out the pattern governing the changes. On the other side was a lever which, unless getting changed how things went, would turn the room off. So, if they could get one person the other side made one. The door was wide enough. You had 4 tiles to pick from, but 2 were higher than the top. Two were higher than the top of the door, and one was too close to it for him to be willing to risk it. Gerald had told him the column moved the moment a person's weight was added. And not always down. With that one, if it went up, he wouldn't have the time to get fully on. The column also didn't go down where they had started when the person let go. Gerald's information also told him all 4 That information also told him all 4 started near the floor, so the room didn't reset identically for the next team. Tibs leaped and grabbed the edge of the tile and hurried to climb it, even as it lowered. Half his height from the floor, it clicked and stopped, while the one next to it kept moving until it was level with the ground, and the one on his left moved up past the top of the door. Within the room, more columns moved up and down until it was a new landscape of heights. Tibs sat and looked at his friends, and that's the puzzle for this room. Anytime one of us steps onto a tile, it and others will change in response. So you move around until you're stuck, Jekyll said, then one of us goes in until it opens up for you again. It can't be that simple, Kirina said, then closed her eyes. The room is square, and 18 tile twice is 324. 18 times twice is 36, Jekyll said. It's not that kind of twice, she replied. It's twice because they're in both directions. And this is why I leave numbers to the sorcerer, the fighter said. And these 4 tiles change things enough. You'll be able to be unstuck, he asked. Tibs shrugged. Charles' team is the only one that went in at this point, so I don't have a lot of information. Some columns might be fixed, but for the others, it's like you saw. Stepping on one moves a lot of them, but not always the same way. Getting on here made it go down. If I do it again, it might go down further or go up. This one might stay the same, or it might move in either direction. As leaned in to look at the ceiling. If we're on a tile as it goes to the ceiling, that is going to be a problem. Then you jump off. Yeah. Then you jump off, Jekyll said. The usher looked at him. That's quite a drop. He'll be fine being stone, and Tibs likes to throw himself out of high windows, so I only did that trying to get my audience with air. Tibs pointed out. It was my understanding, the said, that you accomplished it by throwing yourself off a mountain. Tibs glared at the smiling Clark. I tripped. You're still experienced, as said. Kirina can use air to lure herself. Me and Kumdar won't manage it without breaking something. And landing on a new tile will cause more changes. I studied the landscape. It looks open all the way, so I should be able to float myself there all the way there. So I should be able to float myself there. Or you can use that trick with hard air. With hard air you did in the line room. Ganny made this floor, Tibs said. So I'm confident she figured out a way to keep us from cheating since she saw us do that last time. I still exclaim, are you implying I can't come up with ways to stop you from cheating? How many tries did it take until Tibs was forced to go through the maze you made for him? Ganny asked innocently. Tibs, find a way to cheat, still ordered. He smiled. We can try it, or something else. I can't activate the lever from here, since even without the mask any made of my sense, I can't reach that far. I can't see it, as said, so I can't shoot it. Same with me, as said. Do you know where it is? The archer asked thoughtfully. All Gerald managed to get is that it's on the far wall, by the crest, and over the chest. I don't think destroying it will help us. Does the lever have to be pulled up or down? They shrugged. They didn't get that. They didn't get far enough to try it, and what position it start in isn't something he noted. Then I think we're going to have to make our way across somehow, as admitted. Understood. Let me walk around the room and see if I can work out the pattern. Then we'll see how we go. Tibs stood on a platform, watching the others move as he instructed. Platform all around him moved, but his was one that either wasn't affected by how they moved around or didn't move at all. He was ready to jump off the moment he felt it shift. He tested using hard air, but as soon as he stepped on it, the platform randomly moved up to smash against the ceiling. But as soon as he stepped on it, the platform randomly moved up to smash against the ceiling to Genny's maniacal giggling until he stepped onto a tile. He tested the hard air, but as soon as he tested the hard air. As soon as he stepped on it, the platforms randomly moved up to smash against the ceiling. As Genny giggled. Maniacally, until he stepped onto a tile. Everything shifted, then settled into a landscape that didn't try to outright kill him. He wasn't able to write it down yet, but Tibs' confidence there was a pattern grew as he moved around. How none of the platform and how all right. He wasn't able to write it down yet, but Tibs' confidence there was a pattern grew as he moved around and with how none of the platform rose to flatten his friends against the ceiling. Now, it would have to be enough to get one of them to the other side. Jackal, he called once the platform stopped moving. Two ahead and one to the left. Can you make it? It was twice the fighter's height, but from where he was, Jackal was hidden from Tibs' view. I think so. He decided there was enough confidence in his friend's voice. That one shouldn't cause ours to change. And if we start feeling our platform shift, hearing us picked up, we jump to no, Tibs said. Or, we can't make the jump. Or if I can't make the jump, Jekyll said, stop. Tibs ordered, can you or can't you make it? The fighter took his time answering, yes, I can. Okay. If your platform shifts, you only jump if it goes up. And I'll tell you where. If we start jumping on and off without a plan, we're not going to make it. Don't worry, Tibs, Ness said. Unlike Jackal, I'm not scared. I'm not scared, Jackal replied. Just worry, my action will kill one of you. Then I'll have to deal with hiding from Tibs so he doesn't kill me. I won't kill you, Tibs said. Of course, wouldn't forgive me. I don't know. Rena said, if Jackal ends up killing one of us, he might find that an acceptable reaction. I'm sure that given time, he'd forgive you. Jackal isn't going to get anyone killed, Tibs said in exasperation. So I'm not going to have to kill him, and Korsef isn't going to have to worry about forgiving me. Now, can we get on with this? Told his friends which platform to jump to if they're shifted, then gave Jackal the go-ahead. With a grunt, then the groaning of stone, as the landscape of the room shifted, Jackal became visible above it. His watched the change, counting the numbers of platforms that moved. Counted 2 and 2, that meant he missed 2 of them. He was sure each platform was connected to 2 and 4 others. Carrying up, he said, once they were all still. Drop to the one on your right. Kamdar, you'll go 3 ahead. Mez, yours will go down. If it goes up, 2 back and to the right. Kamdar, if yours goes up, drop to the one on the left and back. Jackal, can you hang off the side of yours? I thought you didn't want to kill me. That's why I'm checking. I'm not sure how high yours will go in response to Kirina's move, and there's nothing you can reach. I'm confident I can predict the effect of on your platform, on our platforms. The fighter leaned over the side, rested a hand against the column, then pushed in and made a handhold. Not as easy as it should be, but I can manage it. Then do that. Once he was ready, he instructed Kirina to move. Nez had to leap off, and his moved up, and that caused more movement, but none that affected them. It only complicated Tibs' view of the room. Until they worked out the pattern, he suspected it would be impossible to do this room and the others in the time they had before the next team entered. He added notes to his paper, studied the room, and gave his instruction. The progress was slow and came with 3 near death. 2 because his instructions were wrong, and the last, when Kumdar couldn't reach the pillar he leaped for, and the one he landed on sent Kirina's rocket up. She threw herself off and used air to control the descent. He was quickly working out a safe platform before Genny's safeguard against them. Before Genny's safeguard against them flying kicked in. He made a note of how long Kirina was in the air. There would be a way to make use of it in the future. That unexpected shift had resulted in even more delays, but in time, they were on the other side. Jackal was the one to leap off and onto the safe section. He pulled the switch down, and slowly, every platform lowered to the ground. By the time Tibs was done making his notes, he could feel the fire filament and the crest pulsing beyond what he could sense, and he barely felt the vibration in the floor that resulted from it. It's empty, Jekyll said, crestfallen, looking into the chest. Did he think I was going to trust him? Did he think I was going to trust him not to take something meant for one of you? Joe still asked smugly. Tell him to close the chest. Jekyll slammed the lid closed hard enough that he was surprised it didn't break. The fighter glared at Tibs when he was instructed to open it again. The glare, as he looked in, turned to surprise, and he pulled a belt pouch out of it. It wasn't like the one Stowe had given Tibs. That one had been a supple leather bag he could attach to his belt. This one was larger and made sturdier. It went from the tip of Jackal's finger to the middle of his forearm and was boxier. It reminded Tibs of what the workers had to hold nails and other small material they needed when building homes, but theirs would come attached to the belt and have hoops to hold tools. Sensing it gave him an odd sensation. He couldn't sense the essence that had to be woven through it. Jekyll put his arm in it up to his shoulder, but he had the impression something wasn't entirely right. Kumdar? Tibs asked, Can you sense anything about it? The cleric shook his head. Despite the evidence, I sense no secret from the pouch. Jekyll took Mrs. bow and placed it inside. Then, when he approached the cleric, Kumdar stepped back, moving his staff to his back. Moving the staff behind him. Did that mean it wasn't darkness responsible for the oddness? Was it light letting him know there was a lie in the pouch? Something else entirely? Jekyll took the pieces of armor out of Kirina's pack. Took the pieces of armor they stood from the fight out of Kirina's pack and added them to the pouch. With each piece that fit, the fighter grinned as if Khrushchev had just whispered something they were going to do in private. He is having a lot more fun with this than I expected, Still said with a chuckle. Close the lid, Tibs. I'll let you know when to have Kirina open. This one's hers. I thought you couldn't change something when I'm this close to it. Jekyll put a dented metal breastplate 3 times wider in the opening of the pouch. Then the opening of the pouch, and Tibs had to look away at the headache. The way it distorted to fit. Screw gave him. At the headache the way I had to look away at the headache. As the way it distorted things gave him a headache. Gave him a headache. The chests aren't part of the room, still said. Well, no. Okay. Let me try this again. The outside of the chest is in the room. I can't absorb it with you there, but the inside is on. I don't know how to describe it, but it lets me put items in as needed. The normal way I have them set up is that the items are assigned automatically when I reach the floor. But this was the most convenient way I could think of handing you your rewards. You can call her over. Jackal held on to her by the backpack as she tried to step away, and instead of arguing, she took it off. Then Karina opened the chest and took a blue-gray robe from it. Tibs closed the chest as she admired it. Again, there was an oddness to it in how he sensed it. She studied the imperfections, smiling as she ran her finger over them. As she asked, there are reserve in throughout. I've put more for air, but every essence will accumulate over time, or she can do it. I don't know how sorcerers work, and I haven't overheard anything that tells me how sorcerers go about using other essences. There is metal, earth, water, fire, and air woven through the material. Makes it as resistant as I can and will give her some protection against the element. Mez is next. The archer was surprised, as Tibs called it. Was as surprised as Tibs to be called over. The chest contained a quiver when it was open, and Tibs focused on it. He made out essences, but they were muted, as if much further than he knew them to be, until Mez touched it. Then all sense of them went away, leaving behind this oddness that Tibs thought might be some part of him knowing there should be more to what he was sensing. Mez has mentioned a few times now how running out of arrows can be a problem. This quiver never will. So long as there is one arrow in it, it will make more. It uses fire essence, so Mez can make sure it's never out. Don't ask how that works, it's complicated. If he puts in different kind of arrows, the quiver will make them eventually. It will make them evenly, which will slow it down. And obviously, if he isn't careful, people will notice the arrows reforming. Please explain how it worked. Thank you, I told the ceiling in awe. For this and the bow. I had nothing to do with the bow, Snow stated. That was just randomly assigned late. He says you're welcome. Tibs replied as he heard in the distance Danny grumble something. Next is Commodore. I have not asked anything. I have not asked for anything, the cleric said uncertainly, nor did I contribute to the ideas reflected the dungeon awarding these. Jekyll and Karina wouldn't be who they are if not for the three of you, Snow replied and repeated. It felt wrong not to acknowledge that. Commodore opened the chest and pulled a black robe like the one he was wearing out, and pulled out. It has the same protection as Karina's, Tibs noted, told the cleric as Sto told them, and above that, it will help you hide. You mentioned how you aren't particularly suited to it, despite darkness being your element. When you feed your essence into the robe, it will create an area that will bend the shadows around you and anyone close to you. The darker the shadow, the easier it will be, but if you put enough essence in it, you will be able to hide even in a faint one. This is more than I deserve, Stell, Commodore whispered. It's a gift, the dungeon replied, not something you need to earn. Not something you needed to earn. Once Tibs had repeated what he said, Sto added, and now for you, Tibs. Are you sure? You gave me the bracers, the pouch, and the shoes, which I destroyed. I destroyed them when I walked into an inferno wearing them. Still, what I said to Commodore applies to you too, but more so. In the chest was a leather armor. Other than the essence woven into it, it was like the one you wore, but without the bracers. I considered remaking the pouch, But even if no one can tell what's in it, it's still a pouch and it'll draw attention. What I did is take the hiding place and give them a treatment similar to Jekyll's pouch. You'll be able to keep more coins in each and even larger things like amulets. The belt has something extra in its hiding spot. It'll take knives and other items like that. When you use darkness essence, you'll be able to move one of them directly to your hand. It's more complicated than it sounds, and I can't really explain it. So you're going to have to test to work out the appropriate way to trigger it. All right, use darkness since it's about hiding and all that. You can fit 6 knives-like things. Although, if they're smaller, you might be able to put more. I'm not entirely sure about that one. Tibs tried to think of something more appropriate than thank you, but had to settle for thank you. They were all silent. Even Jackal had enough playing with his pouch. He'd taken everything out and looked at it, laying on the ground. And laid he'd laid everything in it on the ground and just looked at it. Tibs hesitated, then asked the one thing that was nagging at him. Don't you think this gives us an unfair advantage over the other teams still? Not as much of one as you think. Any answer. You might have noticed that this floor puts more pressure on you to think. The fighting's there just to keep Stowe happy. Aye, the dungeon replied. They're there because it's not fair for a floor to only push those who think. The teams have fighters and archers, and those don't always do a lot of thinking. Or so he claims. But there's also the 4th floor, she said. We are having to rethink a few things to take it into account. Just think of what you're getting as a personalized version of things we'll start putting in the chest when we're closer to opening it. Well, the armors and protective items as weapons. Armors and protective and weapons. The pouch and hiding things, that's just for you and your team. She didn't sound as reproachful as Tibs expected. Even if they were going to give similar armor, what Stu had given them in his team was significant. So there's going to be a lot of fighting on the next floor? Tibs asked. Jekyll stared at him and grinned. Oh yes, Stu said. That's enough. And he interjected. I swear, you'd rather tell him how clever you are than let him discover it the amusing way. Well, when you put it that way, Stu said. Tibs, there's one more item left. Close the lid and tell Jackal it's time for Crosser's gift. And this concludes chapter 99 of Stepping Up. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next one is going to be, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story, it is available for free on Royal Road. If you want to read ahead of Royal Road and support me, that is on my Patreon. It's currently 9 chapters ahead, depending on the support level. If you want to listen to me stumble my way through these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.